My name is Phil. I'm CEO and co-founder of Tokenblocks, and what we're doing is we're creating the 21st century transfer agency solution. Today, when you want to go and buy funds, units of a fund from an asset manager, you can go to any sort of platform across the whole of the UK, different distributors, and what they do is all of their orders get aggregated through a guy called a transfer agent, and he's a middleman that manages all of that for the fund manager. And we offer a solution to effectively cut that guy out by using distributed technology to connect the asset manager more directly to his end investors.
That seems a very straightforward blockchain application.
Yes.
So tell us about how blockchain fits into this.
Sure. So I'd say that there are two main features. One is when you have what I'd call like a complex, high value sort of supply chain, which we have here. Like some of these orders are very high value in size and monetary value, and complex in terms of you have many different players in the market, and there's actually many different people involved along that process towards the asset manager. You need to have, what you want to have is sort of sign off that everyone agrees and approves every step of that process. Because one of the key things that we're fighting, or the key problem, is the operational risk associated with this. Yeah. We have asset manager clients that come in and say, I've been sent an order for £1 million, when it turns out what they meant to be sent was an order for 1 million shares. Right. So sort of problems like that, or getting the units wrong, the direction of the order, or even sending it to the wrong person, that sort of provenance of the data, knowing exactly where it came from and all the steps it went through, is where blockchain really provides its value.
So how long have you been working on this?
So we're quite nascent. We've been working on this for about 6 months. Okay. And during that time, we've actually evolved through a few different blockchain platforms. So we initially built on Ethereum, then we started to move over to a platform called Corda, which is more financially application focused. Right. And it has sort of privacy at a transaction level, which is very key for a financially application focused solution. And now obviously we're building on Cadre, which has this sort of much more flexible approach to the building underlying blockchain technology.
Have you been working in this sort of transactions domain before?
Yeah, so prior to starting this, I used to work in an investment bank. I used to trade Delta One and more specifically ETFs, so exchange traded fund products. Yeah. But I was very much a sort of data-driven trader, so I had a lot of input in creating sort of big data solutions that had firm-wide impact. So I've gotten used to dealing with big data, but also with working specifically with funds and understanding the sort of back office operations and bringing a new fund product to market.
So what blockchain is doing for you is more directly getting the asset managers and the customers together.
The two key features are simple. One is the data provenance, so you can follow a transaction from inception to the asset manager, have accountability, and make sure that you don't have these operational problems where things change along the way. What we're calling like operational risk premia, because every transaction is sort of £4 to £5. We get it down to about 2 by removing this added, if things go wrong, we need to just tack on a little bit more kind of risk. And the second thing is you can't really get rid of a middleman without having sort of the need for trustless transfer of value. Yeah. So whenever you're dealing with these sort of applications and you want to eventually allow people, for example, the fund manager, he can't just be taking 1,000 different orders from different investors. If some of them don't give him the cash, the people that actually suffer are the current investors in the fund. Yeah. It's the fund that takes the hit. So you need to have a mechanism that effectively mitigates or manages that credit risk, which is something that you can get through the trustless trading aspect of a blockchain.
Right, okay. So that works a bit like Bitcoin, or
I would be careful. You would need to have, so first of all, we're not tokenizing anything. Right. We sort of see this as a data record keeping management tool, data efficiency. But if you were able to represent cash, as a lot of people are trying to do on a private ledger, like a Ripple kind of concept, then yes, you could have this trustless trading.
Okay, right, thank you. So you've been doing this for about 6 months, and where do you see this going? How near are you to actually having ready a product in some?
So we have, as I said, we built a proof of concept on Ethereum, developed that onto Corda, and now moving over to Cadre. Right. So we have a little bit of work to do in terms of migrating our platform. Yes. I'd say we're sort of 90% there. A lot of the added work that needs to be done is just more the operational robustness required from providing this at a large institution like an asset manager. So there's obviously a lot of regulatory and compliance sign-off pieces that need to be done. More business development than technology development.
Yeah.
So our expectation is in the next 2 months, we will be able to sign on our first client for a pilot. That will give us another 2 months, to work to do the integration. And we're working with other players in the market to be able to go and get our solution there a little bit quicker.
So you've got a trading platform, essentially, that
I'd say an order management platform.
An order management platform.
Right.
So would that be something used directly by an asset manager?
So yes, the ideal solution is that the asset manager would use it themselves, and then they would cut out this middleman and directly manage their orders from all their That's the decentralized solution.
That's right.
This is the interesting part where technology sort of meets sort of commercial side. The problem with that is one of the key aspects is you need to know who your end investor is, and asset managers that we've spoken to have no appetite to hold that data or manage that process.
Right.
So we have found that we have to become a sort of managed solution where we still undergo that for them. We just use our own technology to be able to do this in a much more efficient way. Hence the reason we call ourselves the modern 21st century transfer agent.
Got it. Okay, that's really important. That's really useful. I was just trying to work out where your person was in that space. That's great. So good luck with that.
Thank you very much.
Any final words about where blockchain might be in a few years in this sort of space?
Sure. Specifically in the asset management space or generally?
If you have any other ideas?
Well, I would just say that there are a lot of interesting debates and a lot of interesting problems that people are trying to solve. I think we talked, one of the biggest ones before was bringing cash onto distributed technology, which I don't think is going to happen anytime soon. And I think the other problem is a lot of people talking about interoperability and getting different blockchains to talk to each other. Again, not something I think is going to happen anytime soon. I think everyone's talking about standardizing what it looks like so that you can have, you have your MySQL database, your Postgres database, your Mongo, as long as the underlying data structure is the same so that you can migrate from one to the other, then that's where you get these sort of benefits and interoperability becomes less of a problem. The reason I say that is in our space, some of the key problems our clients are telling us about our solution is they're worried about vendor lock-in, because if they can't move off of your blockchain onto another one, then they're committed to you, and that's a big risk for them. And the other problem that a lot of these guys are dealing with is the idea of systemic risk. And so what's interesting is people see blockchain as a way of reducing counterparty risk by having this trust as trading in value, or reducing operational risk. But I'm a big believer, having a physics background, that risk is like energy. You don't destroy or make it, you just transform it. So you end up transforming this counterparty risk into this systemic technology risk. Effectively, if you've written the code incorrectly, or there's some small bug in that, you don't just bring down one person in a network, you bring down everyone in the supply chain, which is obviously something that I think a lot more thinking needs to be done in the industry, in the horizontal of using blockchain across everything.
No, I can see that. I used to work in safety critical systems, and that question of moving from a small risk that everybody has to it, but from a larger risk that everybody has to it, a tiny risk that would get everybody at once, is an interesting dilemma.
It's like a black swan, right? And it's obviously, when you look at financial institutions, it's exactly what regulators hate. It's that systemic risk. How do you buffer that? Derivatives, etc., have intertwined the whole financial markets. That's what caused some of these problems. Now, do you want to do that with technology instead? You've got to find ways to mitigate that.
Okay, that's really interesting. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you.